Week 4 kicks off tonight, and normally on Thursdays I give you an updated playoff prediction video, but I didn't really have any changes, no major changes from last week's video, so I wanted to do something a little bit different this week and wanted to recognize some teams that are 3-0 that have surprised me, and just want to give them a shout out here in this video basically, and we'll talk about if I think that they can sustain that. Maybe the start of the season has been a little bit of a fluke, or maybe these teams are going to surprise the rest of the season and do a lot better than most people expected. We'll also give you some disappointments so far. Again, we're only 3 weeks into the season, but these teams, these 5 teams, I did not expect to be 3-0 at this point. So let's start with Michigan State. Michigan State went on the road and beat Maryland. That was just not a game I really saw them winning. I came from behind in that game late to win it. A great win for them. You know, struggled a little bit against FAU. They did take care of Prairie View A&M. But this team has had a good run game so far this season. The defense has been solid. Chiles at quarterback has been kind of, you know, he's not been great. He's been inconsistent. That's I think his touchdown to interception ratio is like 1-to-1. I can't remember the numbers. Like 4 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So yeah, the passing game has not been great for them, but he made some big throws, especially in that Maryland game, to get them that win. So you know, they can build off of that and potentially have a better season. My thoughts for the rest of the season with this team, you know, I still think that they're going to struggle a little bit. I think the lack of a passing game will come. That's going to hurt them. But I definitely think they're going to do better than I expected in the preseason. I think they could possibly even get to a bowl game based off of what we've seen so far. So, yeah, watch out for Michigan State. Again, all these teams off to 3-0 starts. Next, we've got Cal. Did not see Cal going into Auburn and pulling off an upset there. They beat UC Davis in the opener. And then last week against San Diego State, that was a game, you know, San Diego State's a pretty good team out of the Mountain West. You wondered about that game. Coming off of the big win over Auburn, would that one trip them up? You know, maybe they come out and at least don't play great, but you know, they took care of business against San Diego State. Fernando Mendoza, he has played really well at quarterback, especially in that Auburn game. I think his completion percentage right now is like 70%. I mean, he has been very good. Jaden Ott's been banged up, hasn't even he hasn't had the most carries on this team so far this season because of injuries. And still, they have looked good. They've got Florida State coming up on Saturday. That's going to be a big game for them. I think that this team is going to get to a bowl game. I think they're going to have a solid season. I don't know that they're going to be a contender in the ACC, but based off what we've seen so far, this is going to be a team that is not going to be an easy out, probably for anyone in the conference, really. And circling back to Michigan State, they've got Boston College. If they can win that game Saturday, they'll be 4-0, and I think they definitely get to a bowl game and potentially even get past the 6th win mark. So big opportunity for both of these teams this weekend to get to 4-0. Next we go to Illinois. Illinois surprised me. Look, I said it all off season. I thought this was going to be the worst team in the Big Ten, and I have said this many times now. I always get Illinois wrong, and I think it even goes back to Brett Bielema at Arkansas. And for whatever reasons, his teams, when I think they're going to be good, they're terrible. When I think they're going to be bad, they wind up being good. I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain this or not. They've got a big test against Nebraska coming up on Friday night. The big one over Kansas. That was a very impressive win. Luke Altmaier has played really well, thrown no interceptions so far this season. That's something he struggled with a little bit last year. And I actually worried about the receivers this season and the depth they had at that position. But so far, so good. Again, Luke Altmaier has played well. The passing game's been solid. Run game's been solid. Defense been solid. This team really across the board has been pretty good. And I think that Illinois is probably here to stay. I think this is a team that is going to do much better than I expected. Maybe even a 7 or 8 win team based off of what I've seen so far. So again, Michigan State, I'm a little hesitant on. And then if we talk about Cal and Illinois, I do think they're definitely going to be better than I thought the rest of the season. All right, next we go to Pittsburgh. All right, I said this team probably going to be the worst team in the ACC so far. They have not looked like it. Already 2 Power 4 wins. They were able to go on the road, beat Cincinnati. They come from behind late to beat West Virginia. This has been a very good start for Pittsburgh. I did have them, I think, beating Cincinnati and losing to West Virginia, or I don't know. I can't remember if I had them losing both of those games or splitting those, but Eli Holstein, he's been the difference here at quarterback. Was not even the projected starter in the offseason, but this is a guy that's got a lot of talent. You can see that right away. A transfer from Alabama. What he has given them in the pass game has been the difference. I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain it, but already 2 Power 4 wins. I mean, that's really, really solid, and they've got Youngstown State next, so they should be 4-0, meaning Pittsburgh should be a team that at least can get to a bowl game. So they have surprised me for sure. And then we go to BYU next, our final surprise team. There have been some others, but these were the 5 biggest surprises again so far, and all 5 of these teams were 3-0. They beat Southern Illinois. They went on the road, beat Wyoming, but the best win for them was at SMU. They're doing it with defense. The defense has been very, very solid. Offense still, a little bit lacking there, especially in the pass game. I think that's going to be a problem for them. So BYU, I'm not really buying. I think they probably still struggle to get to a bowl game. It's going to be a tough Big 12. But if they could beat Kansas State this weekend, they're going to have a real shot. And again, they've been doing it with defense. If their defense can force Kansas State, force Avery Johnson to throw the football. We talked about this on the Upset Alert video. I think they've got a shot in that game at home. And if they win that game, then, all right, BYU is going to be a surprise team this year for sure. But I want to see that game before I'm willing to really jump on BYU. SMU, again, hasn't been as good as I thought they would be. But still, BYU definitely has been impressive in these first 3 games compared to where I thought they would be. So now let's just go through some disappointing teams. I was going to do 5, so 5 disappointing teams so far this season. We got to start with Florida State. I mean, they've been awful. This is a team, look, I picked them to go 8-4, I believe, maybe 9-3 now. It's hard to even remember my predictions. I either had them 8-4 or 9-3, so I did expect to step back for them, but did not expect it to look like this. Now, the defense did start to come around against Memphis a little bit, but DJ Uiagalelei has been awful, awful. I mean, this offense has been terrible. I've never seen anything like it. It's just really, really bad. And I don't know that Florida State beats Cal this weekend. It wouldn't surprise me at all if they lose again. Somehow they're favored. They've been favored in every game this season, and it hasn't worked out so far. But yeah, Florida State, they're in complete rebuild mode at this point. Next, we got Florida. So Florida also obviously struggling. Not necessarily with the record. I mean, a lot of people look at the schedule and wouldn't be surprised with them starting 1-2, but it's been the way they've played. And they got blown out by Miami. Really weren't competitive against Texas A&M. Billy Napier is going to get fired. It's just a matter of time. If they lose to Mississippi State, I think he will definitely be gone on Sunday. If they win that game, maybe they keep him a little bit longer. I don't know, but Florida definitely a disappointment. Again, not necessarily with the record, but just with the performance on the field. And then we got NC State. Same thing here. Record is what I expected it to be, but not even competing at all against Tennessee, and they didn't look great against inferior opponents. Now Grayson McCall is out. They got to play Clemson. It's not looking good for NC State. Still time to turn it around, but based off of what we've seen so far, they definitely look like a disappointment. Kansas, also a big disappointment, losing to Illinois and UNLV. I thought they'd be 3-0, not 1-2 at this point. I really can't explain it. They're just, they missed their offensive coordinator, I'm sure. Jalen Daniels hasn't looked great. It's not been good for Kansas. Again, a team that can still turn it around. They haven't lost a conference game, but not looking good so far for the Jayhawks. And then we're going to put these 2 teams together because I'm not going to say this season is definitely going to be a disappointment for Oklahoma and Michigan, but I think for both of these teams, it starts this weekend. They have got to turn it around this weekend. Oklahoma's still 3-0 now. I mean, they've still got plenty to play for. I mean, they've had a lot of injuries. So, yeah, getting some guys back, they need to show. I don't even think they have to win on Saturday, but they need to be competitive in that game to show that they are not going to be a disappointing team this season. And they're going to have a great opportunity against Tennessee at home. So, it's Oklahoma, disappointing start. But, again, they've won their games, and that means everything is still right there in front of them if they can turn things around. And then for Michigan, I didn't expect them to beat Texas, but I expected them to play better. It's really been about these 2 teams. Their records are what I thought they would be at this point, but their performance has not been. Michigan's defense has not been as good as I thought it would be. The offense has been even worse than I thought it would be. So they've got to turn it around. If they're going to have any shot at contending in the Big Ten or making the college football playoff, I think you've got to win this game against USC at home. A big opportunity for them, but USC favored in this game. I think it's going to be tough for the Wolverines. So these 2 teams, definitely a chance to get things headed in the right direction with a win on Saturday, but a loss, and I think you're headed for a disappointing season for sure. those are my top 5 surprise teams so far. Surprises that they're 3-0, and then just some disappointments. But all of these teams that have been disappointments, they can still turn things around, except for Florida State, and I don't think Florida has any real shot. The other teams that I mentioned, they can still turn things around, so we'll see if those teams are able to do that. Your thoughts so far on who's been the biggest surprise and disappointment? We're only, again, 3 weeks in, so we'll see where we are maybe at the midway point and do this video again. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports College Football Channel.